Okay, that's a great big huge question that leads us into understanding a lot more than just that question. It's what that question represents that's important. And that's that fate and destiny is about a lot more than those two words represent. It's really about the management of the power of your soul on this earth and how well and how consciously you are able to manage the destiny and the power and the authority of your soul. Let me say this again. Most people are the tail on their dog and not the head. Most people are the caboose on their train and not the engine. And destiny is about becoming the engine on your train and not the caboose. But it takes a great deal of courage to do that. And I'm going to draw you a map now. I'm going to talk to you about how that plays out in your life and in your tests and in the way God comes to you. Where the crossroads, excuse me, where the crossroads play out, the choices that heaven puts in your place that are indeed universal, and then where you take it from there. Where you take it from there. And that this little, what looks like to be a rather messy little map, is really what you should keep in your head, because this really is how you walk around in this world. Every single time you are in a situation, every choice you make, I want you to hold still and think about the tiniest, itsy-bitsiest, itsy bit. The tiniest. If you pause, you'll hear your guidance, or you'll perceive it. From the tiniest itsy bit. From something as simple as, should I get this? You'll hear a yes or no. You'll hear a yes or no. And you'll even be able to discern, that is just guilt talking. That's just guilt talking. And if I were on your shoulder, God help you, I would grab you and say, that's it. We are dealing with this guilt nonsense. We're dealing with it here, and we're dealing with it now. Because guilt is going to stop controlling you right here and right now. Right here and right now. It is over with. We're getting to the root of this, because that is a demon. That is what Teresa would call a devil. And that is rightly what it should be called. A demon, a reptile. And then we pursue it, and we go after it. Because so long as you have a reptile like guilt in you, destiny is but a dream. And you're stuck with your fate. Because what is stronger, your soul or guilt? What has the authority over you? Not your soul. Because it's not a strong vessel. It can't stand up to even the slightest thing over buying a blouse. You can't even handle that. You can't even handle a simple thing like treating yourself to the slightest, excuse me for fiddling, to the slightest little thing without a whole big ritual of, I really shouldn't. Maybe I should. Maybe let me find something. Did I do anything that lets me deserve this? This whole big thing of finding something in which you've abused yourself sufficiently so that you could deserve to do something nice. And once, which is the model of sacrifice martyr, have you sacrificed, bled enough, hung on the cross enough to deserve a blouse? Do you see? Or what's worse, a piece of cake. a pathetic piece of cake. I've had a bad day. I don't care if you've had a good day. I don't care what kind of day you've had. Do you want it or not? Knock it off. Get a backbone. Stand up, for Christ's sake. How can you possibly handle a strong, dynamic life if you can't get a piece of cake if you want one? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? What are you thinking? If you haven't got the self-esteem to eat a cookie without a ritual of apologia, then you are not going to handle a major league piece of guidance. And I'm telling you that right now. So you may as well just assume the observational role in your life and fall in love with the ordinary. And that's all there's to it. Either that or decide, what have I been thinking? And go out, get a box of Oreos and get it over with. Buy yourself an outrageous blouse, eat your Oreos, and get it over with. And knock it off. And start thinking, what am I thinking? What is wrong with me? Who do I honor? My interior or what? What am I thinking? Which brings us to the first and foremost question that divides fate from destiny. When I teach medical intuition, which I haven't done in forever, I teach the chakras in 3 columns. And I'm now teaching the 8th and the 9th. And I teach 3 columns because we operate on 3 levels of consciousness. And the first level, which is below your waist, which is the This is a recipe for disaster. Okay. Which is what I was talking to you about. Below your waist is the consciousness of fate. You can't see this, but I'm going to be talking, so you can just take notes. Is the consciousness of fate your first, second, and third chakras. This is the consciousness of law. This is where you carry law, and this is very, very important. Because you may hear me, you may hear others, you may hear God. But it's what area of your life is mission control? What area is mission control? What area do you drop your control system to that actually has the most influence on how you make your decision? How you make your decision. What intrigued me about mystics, and mystics, by the way, are not just the holy anorexics that ran off to the monasteries, or the Desert Fathers, or Francis of Assisi, or Rumi. A mystic is someone who withdraws and lives according to an interior sense of guidance. And so within the world of the mystic, I put the great American poetess, for example, Emily Dickinson. I put James Joyce. I put William Butler Yeats, who wrote, I went into the hazelwood because a great fire burned in my head. These great poets, these great interior souls who withdrew and saw the world through a lens God put in front of them and said, you see the world through me first and I'll take you. And I'll take you. These are mystics without monasteries. These are mystics without monasteries. They were willing to go into madness first, and then into the world. They were willing to risk it all, into madness and then into the world. And what another person thought of them was of no consequences. No consequence whatsoever. Because what on earth could an ordinary opinion possibly have? What could an ordinary opinion have? What they were born to do was stretch their soul to its capacity, not their wallet. Their soul. And if they stretch their soul, then just like the promise of God, I will take care of the rest. Stretch your soul and I'll take care of the rest. That's all you have to worry about. This is a place that's proof of that. You're sitting in a place that was born from that. Eileen stretched her soul in a bathroom. She left 5 children. She walked out on 5 children. Surely you know that. To marry Peter Caddy. Now, I don't really know many women who would do that. In fact, I would have to sit and pause and really think about that. I know that my mother would look at her and go, because in my mother's world, there is no reasoning with someone who walks out on their children. You could say to my mother, she had a vision. I don't care. But it was God. Who cares? But it was God. She had babies. Done deal. I mean, I had the kind of mother that I did come home from school and there really was cookies. And they really were homemade. I mean, I really did have I have that kind of mom. I could mass market my mother. I could sell stock in her. What can I tell you? That's the kind of mom I have. So that in my world, the maintenance, protection, and caretaking of children is the law of the land. It is not negotiable. It is simply not negotiable. Visions of God withstand it. It doesn't matter. The children come first in my tribe. Done deal. End of it. But when you look at something like a vision comes through and it says, you follow me, and you have someone that says, well, what about them? I'll take care of them. Go. Now that is a decision where you have to say, whoa, 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 whoa. Now that's fate or destiny. Now you look at points on the map in your own life, and you think, again, I ask you, as we go through this map here, how much are you willing to give in your life or to give up? You have to think about that. How much are you willing to change? How do you view fate or destiny? As something to sit on the side, or something to say, all right, I'll whatever the gods want. Because I can promise you, as you sit here and take notes and you look and you think to God, take charge. And you actually say that prayer. Do you understand the winds will blow differently? The winds will blow differently. And this isn't magic. This is an invocation. There's no difference between that prayer than getting on your knees and saying, God, help me with this. And help does come. And if you say, I surrender, show me the path of my soul, not my highest potential, that silly new age prayer. But the true, show me my soul's journey. Go ahead and show me what are you willing to compromise? Or would you say to God, oh no, and no, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. What would you do? What would you do? Just throw it out there. How far are you willing to go? Say? All right. And? Right. say? You wouldn't recognize it, Lovey. Do you think Eileen saw Finhorn? Right. She recognized the true voice, did she? Did she? Okay, but she saw nothing ahead of her on the horizon. All right? So, the typical of the true voice, solid risk. Solid. Typical of the true voice. Come with me and I show you nothing. It is a 100% trust. Either you come with me knowing nothing and you trust me, or we go nowhere. My terms, not yours. Done. I told Jesus in the garden. I told Muhammad. I said to Buddha, you sit under the tree till I'm done. Done. Job, I'll burn you alive until I'm done. Those are the terms, always have been. So I repeat to you, where are you coming from? Don't sit there quiet. I'm not talking to myself.
Because I had a similar situation where I was in a wheelchair and I was so distraught and despair. And I thought, dear God, what is the message here? What am I supposed to do now? I have a new baby. I have a wheelchair as a companion. Where does my life go from here? And all that came into my head was books, seeds, and compost. And I thought, what the hell does that mean? Haven't a clue. Haven't a clue. And all I could think about was the book, seeds, and compost. And so I said to my husband, I don't know where this is coming from, but I haven't got any other way of looking at anything. I need to go with the flow. Could you get me a book, some seeds, some compost?
Are you saying seeds?
Seeds as in
Planting. Mm-hmm.
And to cut a very long story short, I ended up having a horticultural working nursery business that gave me my life back in a different facet.
There you go.
Brings the most fantastic people in front of me, and we walk together. We grow people as well as plants and seeds, and life is just absolutely fantastic.
See? Got it. There you go. And your choice could have been, that's it. I'm becoming, how come? Why me, my way? And we all know people who were hit between the eyes with a physical catastrophe. Christopher Reeve, the wonderful Christopher Reeve, who said, and he wanted to die. He wanted to die. The Easter choice, death or resurrection, the Easter choice. Destiny, fate and destiny, we could call it the Easter choice. Death or resurrection. So I ask you, what are you willing to put on the market? Those of you who have not chosen, I don't want to hear what you've chosen. I want to hear from people who have not chosen. Who have not chosen. Repeat, yes. Wait a minute, could we wait for microphones?
I wasn't going to ask this because I don't want to insert a note of negativity, perhaps, or something.
Oh, insert.
Okay. But,
give it your best shot.
I was talking to some... We were talking during the break.
No doubt.
Okay, let's say you hear an instruction, a direction. You're asking to what lengths, we should ask ourselves, to what lengths are we willing to go to follow the instruction, to follow our destiny? And my question is, if it's a God who demands that I follow my destiny at the cost, at a huge cost to other people, is that the kind of God, is that the kind of destiny I want to follow? I know I have a choice, and I may choose to say, no, this is a price I'm not willing to pay, not the price for myself, but I'm not willing to have the others pay the price to allow me to follow my destiny. Now, how do I know that I'm not just kidding myself? Because it's a difficult path, and there is, I don't know what's going to happen, and I know it's a leap of faith, and I know it demands complete trust, but the fact is...
That is a wonderful question.
The fact is that, at the price of other people's suffering, am I going to follow my destiny?
Okay. That is a wonderful question, and it applies to many people. I think many people can relate to that question. And the fact is, life's choices, no matter what, are going to hurt other people. And you are going to be hurt by other people. And that's all there's to it. And there's no such thing as living a life where your choices are going to avoid hurting other people. And even your destiny, and even somebody else's destiny will hurt you. And that is no reason for them to stop. Period.
I wouldn't want them to stop necessarily, and I'm prepared to accept the pain of them making their choices, like my children, for example, make their choices, and there is pain involved for me. But I can't do it myself. In other words, what about sacrifice and responsibility? And
yes, but you are assuming a conclusion that may not be there, first of all. You are, first of all, assuming a treacherous conclusion where there may not be one. You are already assuming a horrid outcome.
But you said there was pain involved.
But I didn't say how much, and I didn't say what else is after that, did I?
I don't mind the pain, for myself.
But you are already assuming there's only pain, not just pain, with nothing else. There is always the resurrection following the first part of the journey. Number one, always, 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 always. You cannot have one without the other. The phoenix always rises from the ashes. You cannot have one without the other. Always. And you are assuming there's only ashes. All right? Number two, you are assuming that your journey isn't the best for their life as well. Forgetting that the weave works for everybody. That in some divine way, your highest choice, your soul's choice, is also the best for their soul's choice. Even though in the moment you may not see that. There is no such thing as your soul's choice following God destroying their soul. That's not the way the weave works. It is simply not the way it works. Even though in the moment it may not look that way, that's because we look through a value system that says pain is bad, pleasure is good, period. That's the way it works. We look through the eyes of Descartes. Either or. It's got to be reasonable. We look through the eyes of the God of reason. I need a reason for this. And that reason better be pain or pleasure, and it's not too much pain, and the answer is no. It's an unreasonable choice. And I don't make unreasonable choices. Therefore, I cannot follow the soul, because that's an unreasonable choice.
I'm sorry to continue, but it's to do with love, as far as I'm concerned.
It does have to do with love. It's fully about love.
And if I love somebody, let's say if I love my children.
Wait, keep the microphone.
Sorry, if I love my children.
No, you
right.
do love your children. There's no if.
Yes, all right, I do love my children. And if I make a choice, I'm not judging Eileen or anything like that.
No, I
don't
understand.
know, I'm talking of myself, just. I could not walk out on my children. I could not. Because maybe I'm functioning from below the waist, maybe I'm not.
No, I fully understand. I could not make that choice either.
In other words, I would sacrifice my destiny if I felt it was for the welfare of the children. And of course I wouldn't know if it was or not.
Okay, pause. Okay. Pause. Time out. Pause. First, you are not in that position to say that. You are not in the position. How do I know that? Because you're not in the position. Two, you haven't had the journey leading up to that moment. That decision isn't just dropped in you out of the clouds. The gods take their time carving you ahead of time. Carving you, carving you, carving you until you're as hollow as a tree. It just doesn't come like that. By the time they get you there, you're broken. You're broken. And it's got nothing to do with you not loving your children. They don't tamper with that. They never tamper with that. They shall never tamper with that. This is about you and God. By the time they get you there, you're on your knees, honey. Then you get your vision. And at that point, you say to your children, this isn't about you. This is about me. This isn't about how much I love you. This is about something else I don't even understand. But in this moment, you're quite rational. You haven't had that journey. This is like me saying to someone who has just said to me, I would never steal food. Never. And I say to you, you've never starved, honey. And you don't have a starving baby in your arms. Why? I got news for you. You'd kill. Not only would you steal, you'd kill. Maybe not right now. You're far too rational.
I would kill.
That's right. But given the right vision, given the right moment, and given the end of a journey, trust me, you are not then who you are now. You must remember that. You have to hold still and say, I don't know what I would do, because I have not taken that journey. I don't know what I'd do. I don't know. I didn't starve like that. I didn't go through that journey. I didn't have those moments of revelation. I'm not Teresa of Avila. I didn't have her experiences. I can't look at a monastic life and say, I could live that way. No, I couldn't. But on the other hand, I didn't have interior visions that knocked me completely through a loop. You don't know what you do. Today, who I am, no, but I'm not. You didn't walk that path. So of course today who you would and you wouldn't. You don't know. Don't tempt the gods.
Thank you.
Okay, yes.
Something that's been kind of bugging me since yesterday, so I'm going to get it out now, is when you were talking through your whole life's journey, it sounded like you were getting hits along the way and listening to them for many years. And yet you talk about really only being in relationship with your soul in the latter part. I think that's what I heard you say.
I would say it this way. Don't let this bug you. It's not worth it. Get bugged by something more significant.
Well, it's bugging me because if you weren't living your soul's path all the time you were listening to those hits, what were you living? Were you living your fate and only your destiny laterally?
No.
So I just want to understand that.
Well, I would have to say I don't think that I was ever off my own beam. I really don't think I ever strayed. I really don't. But I have a weird life. And but I do think it has always gotten deeper and deeper. But I do not think that I have ever made the shift to what I would call the mystic's life. And I think that's what has changed. I think I've always been governed by my soul. And I think that's why all my life I was with the nuns till I was 29. My college is a convent. I mean, I'd always been within that sort of protected atmosphere. Always. But I don't really think I lived a mystic's life.
And are you now?
I would have to say I feel very much as though I'm a mystical activist, living as a mystic out of a monastery, yes.
And when did the shift come, and what was that about for you?
It came while I was writing Invisible Acts of Power, and it was, for me, when I had the realization of how incredibly powerful the human soul was in other people. And how, it's not that I underestimated people, but yes, I did. And I felt that I was so unbelievably, felt so compelled to do something I was in fact repelled by, to be perfectly honest with you. But when I was doing Invisible Acts of Power, and I had, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 letters, what I would have anticipated, what I did anticipate, was that so many people would write about how their lives were changed by others, that would be like great big huge examples. But where I would take a letter and read it 45 times were these examples that were so like this. A man was going home to his apartment to commit suicide. And he's going home and he's at the corner of one street and he's waiting for a car to pass which was at a stop sign. And while he's standing there, he's thinking, I've got to commit suicide. Should I slit my wrist or OD on pills? I don't know. Do I have enough pills to pull it off? And my razor isn't really sharp. Maybe I should combine them. Maybe if I slit my wrist first, it would give me enough time to take the pills. Or do I take the pills first, but would I be conscious enough to slit my wrist? This is his debate. Then he looks over at this woman, the driver of this car, and all she does is go right at his eyes and pierced him with a smile. That's all she did. And in that moment, he chooses life. Why? Because he said, I felt her smile. I felt her smile. And a rush, in my language, of grace must have been transferred. She must have been channeling some wild grace to pull that off. And then she just kept going. Do you understand that you could have been that woman? Do you understand, number two, that you could have saved how many lives? You don't even know it. You'll never know it. Do you understand? I'm making this woman that no one will ever meet famous. Now, those stories made me sit back and go, people have no idea about how powerful they were, are. And suddenly, the part in me that had spent her whole life studying theology, and I did, from my time I was 23 and went to graduate school, my library is filled with theology. Every tradition, from Islam to Christian to Judaism to you name it, all of a sudden, it went from mental, and I got an incredible library up here, and I had a meltdown. It dissolved somehow or other into me, as if it dissolved into a fire. And I knew every word of it was true. No, truth. Not here. Like Teresa would say, turn that reason off. Get out of it. It is useless. But I lived there. And it went right into my soul like a fire. And I thought, my God, humanity has no idea that every action is an act of channeling grace. And that the problem is, like Teresa would say, or any of these great mystics, you are so caught up in your pride, you can't see it. You're so caught up in the need for attention and in the need for admiration that you cannot see how powerful you are. It's because you want your power to be recognized by others, that you cannot see how much you can do. That being an invisible act of power is simply not enough for you. But that is your highest soul's calling. And you have no idea how powerful that is. No idea whatsoever. I was absolutely awestruck. That did it. Right there. That did it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. I really need to get to this. So this is my last question.
Where I get stuck is when I was listening to you on the Abraham story, I would have that value thing that says my kids are everything. So I was listening and it was great fun, and then it was suddenly, kill your child. And
Suddenly what?
kill your child.
Killed your child, right.
sorry.
Not my idea.
No, but I'm sitting and enjoying it, and suddenly it's straight in my heart going, oh God, no, couldn't do that, right? And then I toddled along with it, and it gets to the bit where, and the angel comes in and says, no, you're okay. And my bit immediately is, it's like when I say, let thy will be done, it's so that it'll be my way. And I know that's a better chance of my way happening. And similarly, it's like, okay, I'll do this destiny thing, because actually he'll put, I'll be pushed to the limit, but it's not going to go bad, really. And I just don't know how to get past that.
Well, that's the whole journey for everybody. How do we get past wanting our way, wanting our destiny to be our way? How do we get past that? How do we get past that journey? This is where I'm going to take you into the castle. The castle is the journey of getting past that. The castle, which is a metaphor for your soul. And it is a very difficult and long journey. It is not like the New Agers would have it, who suffer from an over-disease of entitlement, something that can be taken care of in a weekend. It cannot. The soul and the working with your soul is an arduous journey of devotion. And devotion's not a word we use, but that's what's required. Absolute devotion, where the practice of going into the castle is done as a priority, not as something you stick in when you have time, but an absolute priority. We're investigating the rooms of the castle that are your soul, that are in your soul, are taken up with as serious an intention as anything else you have ever done in your life. That is how you chip away and build a level of soul self-esteem, not psychological self-esteem. Psychological self-esteem is built in this world of, these are my boundaries. These are my needs. I remember somebody saying to me recently, everything's okay so long as I speak my truth. So I looked at him and I said, go ahead, speak your truth, I'm listening. This man complained. This man complained. So I looked at him and I said, sweetheart, complaining is not truth. Complaining is complaining. And to be honest with you, it's boring. But it is not truth. Truth is sacred. Let me give you an example of truth. All is one is truth. God is love is truth. You and your needs is a complaint, and a petty one at that. Complaining. You need your space. Go get your space. There's your space. Get out of here and go in your space. But that is not a truth. That is a need. And it's a need for attention, carefully disguised. So go away and sit in your space. But don't call that a truth. That is blasphemy, in my opinion. Because your needs do not equate to truth, and they never will. Don't you dare use that word again. Call it what it is. This is my need for attention, and this is my method. Call it what it is. We need somehow to recognize that the soul's journey is very, very different than the ego's journey to construct boundaries and to present its needs because it's been ignored for so long. It's a much deeper journey. It's a journey of invisibility through strength, so that what is visible is an exquisite part of you that can be in this world but not of the world, that can walk in and absolutely have this sense that you're not going to be judged, and if you are judged, so what? Put up that shield, close the castle door, and not fear being humiliated. You can enjoy the abundance of the earth. It is not about having poverty in this either-or world. Do you know how judgmental you are? Have you any idea? In this New Age world, how many times people, I have been asked in interviews, how much money do you make? The assumption being that if you earned a nice living, you're not spiritual. New Agers think if someone makes a nice living, there's no God. And yet they love charity. Can I have a donation? Where should that donation come from if not somebody who makes a nice living? Do you not see the paradox there? Well, not really, but I don't want to look at it. No, the whole world is for you to go to. The whole world. You're being called into this world, people. And the soul level of power is for you to be able to recognize, I have to sit still, and I have to channel grace, and I don't have to leave where I am to be powerful. I don't have to be seen to be powerful. And when I am called to be seen, I will not be stopped by the judgment of others. So whether I am here or there, I am in my power. Whether I am seen or not seen, I am in my power. This is a mystical activist. This is what it means to be following that highest calling. And God may decide to put you in a corporation. In a corporation, only you're a mystic in disguise. You're a mystic in disguise. And you learn how to be still and recognize that person needs healing. I'm hearing it. And you silently channel grace and you keep your mouth shut. You operate according to the rules of the mystic. Keep your mouth shut. You're flying under the radar. You're under the vow of silence. You don't go up to them and say, I've been directed to tell you something. No, you don't. You don't ever do something like that. And you recognize, I need to go into prayer. Every day I need to go into prayer because I have to keep myself clear, because if you don't, you won't. And you will slip into that dark space of needing approval, and your ego will get you. Oh, yes, it will. You've got to keep yourself clear. It is a 24-hour-a-day practice. You got to keep yourself clear. You got to keep yourself focused. You've got to keep, and the soul companionship is vitally important. And when you have this, then you recognize that everything you do in your life is a precious and powerful task. There is nothing in your life at that point, nothing, that doesn't become the most powerful thing you can be doing. Nothing. And everybody in your life at that point becomes someone who is sacred to you. No one at that point becomes someone who is not supposed to be in your life. And then it is up to you how you will bless them. Even if, from your point of view, they are the worst thing to come down the street, at that point you look at them and say, they are a sacred adversary. They may be an adversary. I am now going to call them a sacred adversary. Could we open a door? Somebody. Do you see the difference? It becomes a very different task of empowerment, and it is a very difficult way to live, and there is no greater way to live. There is no greater way to live. It is absolute power at its max because it's invisible. You don't call the devil to your door, and you are absolutely in your power. Absolutely in your power. You are so much in your power because your life becomes the monastery, and you realize you are always in a channeling of grace, and you are channeling the world constantly, channeling change constantly, no matter where you are. And you're at a board meeting. You're at a board meeting, you may end up at a board meeting with world leaders, and you're sitting there and you know for a fact you are a mystic, you're in touch with God, you're in touch with absolutely a higher level of authority, you know exactly what you're doing, you keep your mouth shut, you operate at the earth level just like one of them. But behind the scenes, you keep your focus on prayer, you keep your focus on the soul, and you hold a level of power. You don't go in there and announce, can we just light the candles and om? Keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut. You know exactly that that's not where they're at. And if you start seeing inklings that they're having a meltdown, be present and be willing to officiate that. And if not, never burst the door open. Never burst the door open. Never, 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 never break the doors open. Ever. Just be a constant presence. You may be a nurse. You may be a physician. That is where you're supposed to be, an implant. Don't dislike your world because they're not there yet. What do you think you're doing there? You're an implant. Shut up and take it. Be the source of the light that changes. Don't expect them to be changed so you can be comfortable. Shut up, go in there and take it. And be that source of light that's been put there on mission. You're on your block, and no one has the consciousness to be kind to the neighbors. You live that and bring light to that street. That's how you see yourself. You are a source, period. And from that day on, everything in your life is on mission. On mission. And from that day on, everything serves that, period, end of it. That becomes your life. And you never, ever again criticize your life. Ever. You never again criticize your life. You never get up and you say, my life is just not enough. It's not. Your life is bursting with enough. That you haven't seen it is what you better heal. And you better heal not the hell with your past. You better heal the way you see your life now. Your life is bursting with enough. If it needed more, you would implode. You start seeing God in the details, and now. You start seeing it everywhere. You see God in the person next to you. And I don't mean like a New Ager. I mean hardcore. I mean in the text. I mean in the grit. I mean down to earth. And then you start, and we're going to really go at this one. As soon as I get to the first chakra, you start accountability. If I ever get there.